Spiritual and inner life, creating memories, simplifying and decluttering. Terms that are coming forefront in my life and also through my conversations with others. They are summary ways of looking at what's top of mind for those of us who are aging, olders. We could be in our 50s and 60s. There are some who are 50s who are thinking about this now. I get it. But certainly in our 60s, I'm in my 70s and I'm looking at these matters, trying to figure out what's going to happen. And I realize that the three of them together make a really interesting story. And that's what I wanted to share with you today, because through that story, I believe you can figure out a little bit of what it might mean to rescript, rescribe, revisit, reframe, whatever way you want to use it, this notion of legacy life. So I have some notes that I have here for myself to sort of remember what's possible and to bring it forth. So I'll be looking down and to bring these three concepts together, this notion of spiritual life and our inner lives. I've been on a journey around this for years and years and years, and it came about from what I thought was going to be a 6-month trip. Well, that's what I said to my mother at the time. Hey, Mom, I'm just going to go away for about 6 months. I'll see you certainly just after Christmas, okay? Well, I came back 4 years later, so I missed a few Christmases along the way. But it was during that time that I really came to understand different ways of looking at this notion of spirit and the spiritual life. And I so appreciate the opportunity. I did that trip from Kathmandu, Nepal to London, England, and I just met all the different kinds of religions and spiritual beliefs and got an introduction. I won't say I got a true falling in and figuring it out and for each one, but I certainly got a cursory view of them. And after that, when I came back, well, it didn't happen immediately. In the years that followed, I started to think about what are all these connections between them. And I came to understand about belief and believing. And that was what helped frame it for me, this inner life, this way of looking at being for the world with the planet from the whole. And I thank myself for making that decision to go on that trip, because I had a couple of ways I was going to come back from Australia, and that's where I was before I went on the trip. And either it was to go across the Trans-Siberia Railway, do island hopping across the Pacific, or do this bus tour for 3 months from Nepal to England. And as I mentioned, I took the bus trip. So that decision at that point in time leads me to where I am now, is because, as an example, I just found my 35 millimeter slide that I took of a child in a swing with the Himalayas in the background. And I always remembered that picture as sort of iconic to that trip, to that memory. And now I have to figure out, well, how am I going to put that into something that I can leave for others, this legacy story, this legacy artifact. And I'm working on that and getting it together. I think you can see the printer here. I'm scanning things. I'm putting it into digital. So it's wonderful from that perspective. But the bringing this notion of spiritual life, this inner life, and thinking about how it helps create memories. I just shared the one about the 35 millimeter. But there's other memories that came forth, and I'm get those into words, into books. That's one of the ways that I'm doing it. And I just thank all of those persons along the way who gave me that opportunity to chat with them, and campfires and coffees along the way that, oh, wow, they were just great. And I just thought that I would share that one with you. The next one I wanted to take a look at was this whole notion of, yes, you're creating memories. I get that. And what do you do with those memories? That is what becomes important as you get a little bit older, doesn't it? Put some thoughts down below about what you're doing with your memories. As I've mentioned, I'm writing books, scanning things and putting it into books. I'm going through all my poetry and journals and everything and picking out what I think is of value. In front of me, I've got a whole box of notes that I'm going through and attempting to figure out a way in which to explain that spiritual life that I just mentioned, certainly connected with nature. But also all those other memories, those tangibles. Just over here, I have a pile of paintings and drawings that I've collected from persons that I thought did some really excellent work. I have a piece that I bought when I was in Iran, and I'm trying to figure out now, what do I do with it? And what I'm thinking is it's getting close to a holiday season, and I might put that advertisement out that says, needing a new home for something. And what are the somethings? And I've got The Hobbit, first edition of the Hobbit book, and binoculars, and an old compass, and some old slide rules. These are things that were tangibles, but now what do I do with them? Well, maybe there's some persons who would find great joy in owning those and putting them into their own collections. Being a digital nomad, I'm not wanting to carry a lot of material with me as I move forward. And as with aging, I certainly don't want to be moving boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff. So finding a home for these things is sort of another way of rescribing your story of legacy from this artifact point of view, this memory point of view. But what becomes interesting here is the simplifying and decluttering. Oh, yes. I went from a 3-bedroom house when I sold it, and I said, okay, I'm going to get rid of most of it. So I gave most of my books away. What was it, a collection of 4,000 books or something, and I gave them away to friends, and gave someone my canoe and my the bags that went with it, the tripping bags, the paddles, the life jackets, everything went. And I just said, these were things that others could enjoy. And that was quite a number of years ago. I think that's about 12 plus years ago that I did that. And I said to myself, well, what is it that I'm going to do with all this other stuff? So I went into storage, and then into a smaller storage, and then into just some those medium-sized Rubbermaid boxes, and I had about 20 of those, and I got it down to 10, and now I've got it down to about 8, and most of those are going to be taken care of here over the next 6 months or so as I scan everything into my digital files to see what will unfold for me. So the beauty of this decluttering and finding a simpler approach to all of this, simpler, deeper resonance, the spiritual life, the memories that go with that, to be able to say, okay, is this better? Is this a better way to live? Is this a wiser way to live? And what am I doing with my wisdom? Am I sharing it? Is it a kinder approach to my soul and my spirit and my system of the whole, my contribution from the whole? So lots of things are happening as I'm looking at these topics. And I thought I would share it with you in this slightly different way, as I'm not going to make up some big production with video production. This is me holding on to the camera with my arm on the sofa cushion with the background of my little office, and I'm just going to put it up this way and share it with you and ask you, what is your spiritual life and inner sense? What is it that you're having unfolding for you. You may be following a thread of life, or maybe you've met some challenges and you're doing something a little bit different. What are you doing from the perspective of creating memories? And what are you doing with those artifacts? And where are you putting them? Are you giving them away? Or are you recreating them somehow? And this whole notion of simplifying and decluttering, what are you doing? Just one last little tip. Whatever you are in your life, I would encourage you to create legacy boxes and put things in so that when the time comes, you can sort through it. I bought a collection of those transparent boxes and I put it in. And I did that purposely is because then what I could do is I could see, all right, notion of, oh, okay, there is my material. What am I going to do? I said, I can look at them, and I put some of them under my desk, and I do it from that perspective. So that's a tip. I just thought that I would share it with you. So with that, I think that I've covered off what are top of mind for others, what they've shared with me, and this is video number 6 in the series of 6. Let me put links in the description below if you want to trace back the other 5. But I would encourage you to comment, bring some of your thoughts into the foreground. I would so enjoy learning from you. And if there's anything you want to ask about these topics, please do. I'll certainly share what I have top of mind for me. And I'm then going to go into a series. Now, this is going to be kind of fun because I'm shooting this on YouTube, granted. But I think there's something that needs to happen for those who are thinking about coming onto YouTube or getting involved with what do I do with my legacy artifacts. And I thought through something that I worked on a number of years ago. It's called CAMSDALE. Fancy name for Content Asset Management System, working it safely so that you can make decisions about your action outcomes. Whew. Whew. What I'm sharing with you here is your content that you have, your memories, your tangibles. There's assets in there. What do you want to do with them? How do you want to manage them? And to put it through some kind of system that you can take out, like writing a book, figuring out ways to give it to someone else. These are systems, but to do it safely for yourself and with others, so that the decisions you make, the action outcomes that you take up, are from your heart, wholehearted approach. They are about being for the world, with the planet, from the whole. I hadn't really seen it. The story that I've just shared you with the life around these 3 topics, that was a CAMSDALE. And I had pulled it out some time ago when I was working around some of my team development and helping with some consulting work. But now, I can see how it would be of great value for olders who are taking up this legacy story, this reframing of what you have, to rescribe, to find ways in which to bring that to the foreground. So I'm going to dig into that and see what happens. And again, if that topic is of interest to you, drop a note down below. I'd love to have a conversation with you. So with that, I think that covers off for today, covers off the 3 topics, completes the 6th video in this series. I wish you well and take care.